Do you remember the old days of Fortnite Creative, back in Chapter 1 or even Chapter 2 when you played with your friends, in those different maps, escape rooms, 1v1s, or just something that felt exciting? Those times just hit different and they were genuinely a good time. I remember watching plenty of YouTubers play these OG Creative maps and playing them myself, and how were they a good time? How could these beautiful times ever turn into a path of ruin? Welcome to 2024, we have Skibidi Toilet, Red vs Blue, and my favorite Tycoon maps. There's just so many maps that have so much effort in them. No. I think you get the point. Fortnite Creative now is just a mess, an absolute atrocity. You can't even look in the discovery menu without finding an awful map that's sole purpose is to attract kids and absorb money. Even with all these amazing tools of Creative 2.0, you'd think we'd be getting absolute peak content. Instead of making something out of this world, we get a whole lot of trash. Complete and utter trash. Now okay, this isn't to say there are absolutely no good maps right now. There are definitely a good amount of well-made creative experiences that have real genuine effort. Plus, there's also enjoyable ones to warm up for games or just practice your skill. My main point is, there are mostly a lot of irrelevant maps right now in the game, making it look really unappealing to what I hope is most people. But it's definitely appealing to children, like one game in particular. Roblox. I mean, look how similar they look already. It's kind of scary. Before we talk about the real reason why I believe Fortnite Creative 2.0 just isn't it, we should first talk about what made Creative 1.0 so good. Now, for some people watching, what I'm about to talk about right now may not connect or resonate with you because you might have started later compared to those who started much earlier. Hopefully this video reaches out to those who experienced these times, and big respect for you for being an OG. Even if you're not an OG, you'll probably still get the idea of this video, so let's dive in. Fortnite Creative was introduced on the 6th of December 2018. This was in Chapter 1 Season 7 when the ice biome arrived. This season by itself holds so much nostalgia to me and to many people, but that's not what's important right now. Creative arriving to the game was so new and gave us all amazing opportunities to experiment with. The real nostalgic charm of these days was the fact that it was all about its community and real creativity. Because it was just new, people were creating all sorts of maps and early versions of familiar games like Zone Wars, Hide and Seek, Difference, and the list goes on. Probably most well remembered was Scissor Diffron, and it was awesome to see so many creators getting involved. It just felt like we made such genuine memories back in these days, especially with our friends in these maps. And nowadays, it doesn't feel as connected like those days. Another thing about OG Creative that made it also so memorable was how simple it was to use. It was much more accessible with its simplistic interface and pretty straightforward ways to make your own maps. I mean, anyone can make something. I remember making Difference back in Chapter 1, which now that I'm looking back on, weren't all that bad for how young I was. And I still managed to make something pretty interesting. It was so fun making these, although I never even published them, of course. This isn't to say that it makes Creative 1.0 features better than Creative 2.0. I mean, there's absolutely no argument to say that UEFN is worse because you can do way more than before at an insane level. But does Creative 2.0 offering all these tools necessarily make it better? Better. The meaning of better can have very different interpretations. We usually use the word for when something is actually improved and more efficient. For example, we can't argue that the PS5 is not better than the PS3. But as an example, let's say that for whatever reason you might have, you think the PS3 is better. But we all know it isn't actually better, because in a sense of performance and more things like graphics, the PS5 reigns supreme. This is just an example, but I think you get the point. We often like to think something is better because of subjective feelings and opinions. This is mostly because of nostalgia towards something, or just because you have more memories. Like, some people are more reminiscent for the PS3 because of their memories with it. So basically, Creative 2.0 probably isn't as memorable because a lot of people like the old form and some people can't even access it. This is because it's restricted to PC only, which could be another reason. But preferences for different creative formats isn't actually the main reason or importance on why I think Creative 1.0 is better. In fact, I think UEFN is way better because of how much more we can do. Even though it requires a lot of knowledge on how to use it, it's for good reason. There is way more possibilities, so it's never going to be easy. Either way, we can still access the old features of Creative, and that's what console players have to use because they don't have access to UEFN. But the idea of better in terms of subjective feelings is still very important as to what made Creative 1.0 feel, well, better. Creative maps back in the day weren't reliant on something that I believe caused the most issues with the Fortnite Creative community today. Money. Fortnite Creative never used to have a massive focus on monetization for creative mode other than promoting your SAC. SAC standing for supported creator code, by the way. But now it's all changed, and in fact it's still relatively new. Epic Games started paying creators directly for the maps they made with the launch of the Creator Economy 2.0 in March 2023. With the introduction of this, it really just opened to the potential of high revenue, and creators could now get paid for engagement and popularity from their maps. This became pretty much just a new way of making some quick extra cash, and this is all where it went downhill. Soon enough, a large amount of Fortnite maps were being published quickly every day with the purpose of targeting younger audiences. This was done as a quick way to garner popularity and more playtime, which meant more extra banks for Creative. Over time, the discovery menu became a complete mess. It was full with oversaturation of clickbaity thumbnails, often made by AI. It had a lack of quality content because of how repetitive it was getting. And some creators started trend chasing even more, which created a never-ending supply of these awful maps. This all just didn't turn out well for the player base that wanted real experiences. None of the games seemed like they were genuinely made with desire. I remember back last year with some of my mates, we played a 100-day survival zombie game that we found in the discovery feed and thought, hey, why not check this out? I don't have any recordings playing this, but here's some background footage of what it was basically like. Honestly, it was right at the start and there wasn't any real issues that we seemed to have. Until we got to day 100, we were rewarded with basically nothing but some extra mythics in a tank. It was all pretty pointless. We all thought there was going to be some insane boss battle because the Storm King was in the background, but it was literally just a PNG awfully pasted into the background. It didn't really bother me, but later on there were so many copies of this exact concept, all pretty much with the same gameplay with just different themes. This is another issue that Creative faces today. There are so many blatant copies, and that's probably because you can use templates for maps, which is honestly just lazy. They get you so invested in reaching that day 100 mark for you just to receive nothing worth the wait. It's all a scheme for longer playtime. This is just one example of the many maps like this, such as the box fight maps that had different themes of powers or characters, and to be honest, they're actually somewhat fun.
So in Fortnite, I got skibbity toileted, and then I got revived by Shrek.
This is not Fortnite. What is this game?
Other than a couple interesting controversial ones, but either way, it's still a lazy attempt at a map clearly made for clickbaiting with AI-made thumbnails of characters and things you probably recognize online. The introduction of revenue earning from maps has changed how a large amount of creators view the entire concept of Creative. Because of this, now they're making lazy maps and they're pretty successful. What's even more unfortunate is that Epic Games is often promoting these very maps. This is just really sad because it's offering less exposure to some secret gems of games that people actually put love and work into. Now there's way more people playing these really bad maps and all the good ones have just been left under the dust. Overall, I think the system is very scuffed and I don't even know how so many questionable maps get accepted. Creative 1.0 wasn't about this motivation. There were some genuine maps that didn't have money as the thought process behind making them. I'm not against creators making money from their work at all, but I don't agree with creators making money in a cheap and scummy way. But they gotta do what they gotta do, and sadly it's ruining how Creative looks. Like once again, it's looking like Roblox. Creative 2.0 had so much potential, but it's clear it's not being used for that. There are definitely some keepers out there that have changed everything, but a lot of these maps get forgotten and buried over maps like Red vs Blue, Tycoons, and just more lackluster. A whole lot of it's just been aimed at an audience of younger players with catchy icons, pictures, and maps themed on things they probably know online. It just seems like everyone's competing for profit. This isn't what it should be. Fortnite Creative should be something that offers something outside of this world that really uses UEF into its potential. But instead, it's evolved into quantity over quality, which just isn't fun. So, how can we even save this? I mean, we're already so deep into this junk, and to be honest, it seems impossible to fix. There isn't really any fixing to it. A lot of the maps don't even violate the guidelines, even if they are lazy. And having all these maps probably keeps creative mode more active for Epic Games, because if I had to guess, most of the maps are probably like this. A lot of kids probably play Skibbity Toilet vs Grimace Tycoon, and they might quit their favorite maps get taken down. Basically, there isn't too much we can really do about removing the maps, but I'm sure it's possible for everyone to work together as a community to tell Epic Games that this isn't what we want. We don't want thought blocks. It at least can't be that hard for Epic to limit the promotion of these lazy maps. They should be promoting maps that deserve it. I think promoting real effort maps would be a good start. My overall thoughts on the state of Creative right now are pretty mixed. I don't necessarily believe Creative 2.0 is worse than the past version. It's giving us so much more potential, but sadly, it doesn't feel like it's being used for that purpose as much as it should be. I just personally like Creative 1.0 more because the maps felt like they had genuine effort put into them, and I love the overall feel of the maps. Back then, it felt like there was so much more variety compared to what we have now. Maybe it's because the motivation wasn't influenced by money as much, but instead was made for the complete purpose of enjoyment. And that's exactly what Creative should be aimed towards. Monetization is always great for creators, and I'm all about it. But it's just really sad to see it drives a lot of people with a choice to make cash-grabbing maps. I don't think Creative is completely ruining you. There are still a lot of good maps you can still find, even in the mess that it is right now. We just need to work together to promote the real maps and hopefully save Creative before it's too late. So what do you think about the current state of Fortnite Creative? I'm sure you have your own opinions about it and maybe have even better solutions. Let me know in the comments below. If you're enjoying these types of videos where I discuss about different topics, drop a sub, leave a like, and don't forget to use my code REFRECOMICS in the Fortnite item shop. Stay well, and hopefully one day we can save the state of Fortnite Creative.